Okay, so today we're diving into, the Roblox game Pet Simulator 99,
Right.
and we've got some interesting stuff here, some feedback from players, and it looks like they're talking about how the way the game makes money, has kind of changed things up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, i- these observations you've shared are super interesting. And I think our main goal here should be to uh, try to understand this shift, that players are calling pay to win or P2W in Pet Simulator 99
Right.
and kind of what that means for the game as a whole.
Exactly. Yeah. And, for anyone who might not be familiar with Pet Simulator 99, it's kind of your classic, collect, trade, upgrade your virtual pets, use those to earn coins, unlock new areas, that kind of a thing.
Right.
But yeah, I think the big question that keeps coming up in this feedback is how these recent changes are affecting, everyone who plays the game,
Mhm.
especially if you're not planning on spending, real world money or Robux, as they call it,
Yeah.
which is the in-game currency.
Right.
So, okay, let's try to unpack this whole pay-to-win idea a little bit.
Right.
When we're talking about Pet Simulator 99, what does that actually look like in the game?
So basically, pay to win, or P2W in this case, um, essentially means that players who are willing to spend real money, they get these significant advantages
Yeah.
that are very difficult for non-paying players to overcome, really.
Yeah.
And these advantages really impact how quickly you can progress through the game, how competitive you can be.
Gotcha.
It really makes a big difference.
Yeah, and one of the key examples that keeps coming up again and again is something called the Forever Pack.
Right.
So what's so significant about this pack?
Well, I think what's really interesting about this pack is, just how directly advantageous it is.
Mm-hmm.
So for a Robux purchase, right, players get access to these incredibly powerful and rare in-game
Yeah.
items, like Huges and Titanics. And they also get these exclusive eggs that contain, other valuable pets.
I see.
And these aren't just, cosmetic items. They actually give a substantial boost to the player's, earning potential, their overall strength.
Got it.
So, really puts those who buy the pack significantly ahead of those who don't.
And this is kind of where things get really interesting, right? Because it's not just that one-time boost. It sounds like these advantages actually, influence the ongoing gameplay,
Yeah.
especially in some of the competitive events, like, for example, clan battles, right?
Exactly. So the feedback we're seeing really highlights how players can, directly spend Robux to increase their clan's score in these battles. And so you can imagine, if a clan has many paying members
Mm-hmm.
who are all using these boosts, it becomes, almost impossible for free-to-play clans to really even compete,
Yeah.
for the wins and for the rewards that come with winning those battles.
Right.
So it really shifts the focus of the game, away from strategy and more toward,
Yeah.
who's willing to spend more.
Like who can spend the most? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like the RNG battle, which is another competitive event,
Right.
has kind of followed a similar path with this introduction of these purchasable dices. So what's the impact there? How does that work?
Yeah, and this really illustrates the imbalance. So free players, they have to grind. They have to spend a lot of time in the game to earn these dices.
Yeah.
which are essential for participating in the RNG battle and having a chance at winning valuable rewards.
Yeah.
But paying players, they can just buy them.
Right.
And this gives them a significant statistical advantage.
Yeah.
And it often leads to the same outcome, which is dominance by those who are spending money.
So, I mean, what does all this mean for the overall health of the game? I mean, we've seen some pretty noticeable shifts, right, in the number of active players.
Right.
So, how are these changes playing out?
Yeah. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, I think the consequences of this P2W shift seem pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Player feedback suggests a drop in active players, from around 100,000, 150,000 down to 65,000 to 100,000.
Yeah,
So that's a significant decline.
it's a big drop.
And the fact that even some content creators, YouTubers who are covering the game, have left, due to frustration with this perceived unfairness, really highlights the issue.
And it's not just the players who don't spend money who are feeling this, right? It
Right.
sounds like the costs are actually going up, even for those who do spend.
That's right. That's right. So the price of certain powerful in-game enhancements, what are called PCW enchants,
Yeah.
has almost doubled,
Wow. Yeah.
jumping from 2,400 Robux to 4,700 Robux.
Okay.
And this suggests a further push towards monetization, and potentially even squeezing those players who were initially willing to spend some money on the games.
Yeah, right.
You know.
So to kind of sum all this up, it sounds like Pet Simulator 99 has really moved toward this system where spending real money gives you a very significant advantage.
Yeah.
And it seems to be creating this pretty clear divide, right, within the player community.
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway here. This shift toward a pay-to-win model,
Mm-hmm.
it appears to have contributed to a decrease in the player base,
Mm-hmm.
an increase in costs,
Yeah.
affecting both those who choose not to spend,
Right.
and even those who do.
Well, and this kind of brings up an interesting point, for everyone listening. Because we've seen how these decisions about how a game makes money can really change, the entire experience of the game
Yeah.
and the community around the game, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what are the long-term implications, right, for games that increasingly seem to favor players who pay, over those who don't?
Right.
I think that's something that we all need to consider, moving forward. And thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. It's been really interesting to look at all this.
Of course. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone.